everyone. We've all heard the phrase, a problem shared is a problem halved. But today I want to challenge that idea. My message is simple. Don't tell people your problems. At least, not just anyone, and not all the time. Here's why. One of the most difficult lessons to learn in life is that most people simply don't care about your problems. Not because they're cruel or heartless, but because they're human. Everyone is carrying something, silent burdens, personal battles, hidden stress, emotional wounds. And the truth is, people are so consumed by their own struggles that they don't have the capacity to truly invest in yours. It's easy to fall into the habit of thinking that if you explain your pain well enough, others will step in to ease it. But more often than not, they nod politely, offer a few kind words, and then move on. And not because they're bad people, but because they have to. They have bills to pay, relationships to manage, insecurities to fight, and futures to build. Your story is just a passing scene in their larger narrative. You may remember every tear you've shed and every sleepless night you've endured, but to them, it's just another conversation, another moment, easily forgotten. And here's the deeper truth. Most people don't even know how to care in the way you might hope. They may listen, but they don't understand the depth of your experience. They can't. They're not inside your head or heart. So even when someone offers sympathy, it's often shallow, not because they mean harm, but because empathy, real empathy, is rare and difficult. This isn't meant to make you bitter. It's meant to free you. Once you realize that most people aren't deeply invested in your struggles, you stop expecting it. You stop placing the burden of your healing on someone else's shoulders. You learn to hold your own pain. You learn resilience. You stop retelling the same story, hoping it'll be met with the validation you crave. Instead, you start looking inward. You begin to solve problems, not just share them. When you constantly bring your problems to others, they may start to associate you with negativity. Even well-meaning people can grow distant if every interaction becomes a session of venting and complaint. Eventually, it wears them down. The human mind seeks joy, relief, lightness. And if your presence feels heavy too often, people will quietly retreat. They won't say it, but they'll feel it. This isn't a call to silence your emotions. It's a call to be intentional, to recognize that not everyone can or should carry your weight. Save your vulnerability for people who've earned it. Share with those who have proven they care, not just with words, but with consistency and action. And even then, share with balance. In a world full of noise and distraction, the most powerful thing you can do is face your struggles quietly, rise above them steadily, and let your strength, not your suffering, be what people remember. Most people don't care about your problems, so give them something else to see your growth, your grit, your grace. Not everyone in your life is rooting for you. It's uncomfortable to admit, but some people are quietly satisfied when you're struggling. They may smile when you walk into the room, laugh at your jokes, and offer surface-level support. But underneath, they feel a sense of comfort, even pleasure, knowing that you're dealing with difficulties. Your setbacks make them feel better about their own lives. Your failures make their insecurities feel a little less heavy. And when you share your problems freely, they listen, but not always out of care. Sometimes it's curiosity. Sometimes it's superiority. Sometimes it's the thrill of watching someone else fall. This doesn't mean everyone around you is malicious. Most people aren't actively trying to hurt you. But jealousy, insecurity, and quiet resentment are powerful forces. They exist in friendships, families, workplaces, even in relationships that appear supportive. Some people don't necessarily want to see you destroyed. They just don't want to see you do better than them. So when you stumble, they see it as a balancing act, a leveling of the playing field. Your pain becomes their comfort zone. And here's the tricky part. These people don't always reveal themselves quickly. They often come disguised as listeners, confidants, even cheerleaders. But pay attention to patterns. Do they seem more engaged when you're down than when you're doing well? Do they disappear when you're thriving, but suddenly become present when you're in pain? Do your problems spark a deeper conversation, or do they quietly become entertainment? Sharing your struggles with the wrong people gives them a script for your life, a script they can retell, judge, or distort. It becomes gossip. It becomes material. And often, it's repeated not out of concern, but out of amusement or ego. Every time you reveal a weakness to someone who doesn't truly care, you hand them a tool they can use to quietly measure themselves against you. To say, at least I'm not going through that. To feed their own sense of stability by witnessing your chaos. The truth is, not everyone deserves to hear your pain. Vulnerability is a gift. It should be given wisely and with discernment. Just because someone asks what's wrong, mean they should hear the full answer. Just because they're physically present doesn't mean they're emotionally safe. There's strength in privacy. There's wisdom in silence. The more you keep your challenges within trusted, intentional spaces, the more control you maintain over your own narrative. When you stop handing your wounds to people who secretly benefit from them, you stop giving away your power. You learn to heal in protected places, not public ones. And most of all, you begin to surround yourself with those who truly want to see you whole, not broken. Be careful who you vent to. Some people are glad you're hurting, not because they hate you, but because your pain gives them peace. And that's the kind of danger you never want to feed. There's a common belief that talking about your problems is the first step towards solving them. And while there's some truth in that, especially when it comes to processing emotions, talking alone is not enough. Expressing frustration, venting anger, or explaining your struggles can bring temporary relief, but without action, nothing truly changes. Words can be comforting, but they don't build bridges, fix finances, heal relationships, or create discipline. They don't get you out of bed, push you forward, or carry you through when things get hard. Only action does that. Talking feels good because it tricks the brain into thinking progress is being made. When you speak your worries out loud, it releases emotional pressure like steam from a boiling pot. It can calm the storm temporarily, but if you keep talking without shifting your still need to be paid, the deadlines haven't moved, the weight still needs lifting, mentally, emotionally, or literally. There's a danger in confusing emotional release with problem solving. Repeated venting often becomes a cycle of self-pity. You tell the same story over and over, hoping that saying it enough will somehow make it go away. But it doesn't. In fact, the more you talk about your problems without addressing them, the deeper your sense of helplessness can grow. You start to define yourself by your struggles instead of your strength. You stay in the same place, just with more words around you. It's also important to realize that constant talking can drain others. Even the most supportive friends and loved ones will eventually feel exhausted if every conversation revolves around what's wrong instead of what's being done to fix it. They may start to tune out, not because they don't care, but because they can't see any movement forward. People are drawn to growth, effort, and resilience, not just repetition of the same pain. To be clear, there's value in speaking up, especially when you need help or support. But that moment of expression must be followed by intention, by planning, by doing. Even a small step matters. A phone call, a decision, a change in routine, something real, something you can point to and say, "This is how I'm dealing with it." If you're serious about overcoming what's holding you back, remember this: clarity comes from action, not from overthinking. Confidence grows when you do the work, not just talk about it. Solutions come from showing up, not just speaking out. So talk if you need to, but don't stop there. Let the talking be the spark, not the fire. Because talking about change might open the door, but only action can walk you through it. Every interaction you have with others is a lesson in how they should treat you. Whether you realize it or not, you're constantly teaching people what you will tolerate, what you expect, and how you see yourself. You train them with your words, your silence, your boundaries, and your reactions. If you consistently accept disrespect, neglect, or dismissal, whether in friendships, at work, or in relationships, you're sending a message. This is okay with me, even if it's not. People observe how you carry yourself. If you don't respect your own time, don't expect others to. If you constantly downplay your value, don't be surprised when people take you for granted. If you always make yourself available, no matter how drained or busy you are, people may begin to treat your presence as a convenience, not a privilege. And the worst part, once that dynamic is set, it's hard to reverse. Sometimes, we think being kind means being endlessly available. We think being humble means shrinking ourselves to make others feel comfortable. But kindness without boundaries becomes weakness. Humility without self-respect becomes self-erasure. There is nothing noble about letting people walk all over you. Respect is not something you demand loudly. It's something you quietly earn by how you conduct yourself. You don't get it by shouting, blaming, or begging. You get it by setting standards and sticking to them. The truth is, people test you, intentionally or not. They push limits to see where the line is. And if you keep moving the line back every time they cross it, they'll stop seeing it altogether. That's when resentment starts to grow. You feel used, unseen, disrespected. But by then, you've already trained them that this behavior is normal. It's not about being harsh or confrontational. It's about being clear. It's about knowing your own worth well enough that you don't need to explain it all the time. You just live it. When you start holding yourself to higher standards, others either rise to meet you or quietly fade away. Both outcomes are a form of self-respect. This applies to how much you complain too. If every time you meet someone, you unload your struggles, you're training them to associate you with negativity. You become the person who always has something going wrong. That shapes how they see you, how seriously they take you, and whether they want to be around you. That doesn't mean you should never be vulnerable. It means your presence should reflect more than your problems. Your energy is your most valuable currency. It fuels your thoughts, your focus, your relationships, your creativity, and your growth. When your energy is low, everything feels heavier. Decisions, conversations, even simple daily tasks. That's why protecting your energy isn't just a feel-good phrase. It's a survival skill. It's a quiet discipline that separates those who burn out from those who move forward with clarity and purpose. Every time you engage in unnecessary drama, every time you absorb someone else's negativity, every time you dwell on things you can't control, you're spending your energy, and not in a way that benefits you. Most of us don't realize how much we give away just by overthinking, over-explaining, or over-caring about the wrong things. And over time, this constant emotional leakage wears you down. You end up tired without doing much. You start losing your spark, not because life is so hard, but because you've been handing out pieces of yourself without noticing. That includes how often you talk about your problems. The more you repeat the same story, the deeper it embeds itself into your identity. It doesn't make the problem go away. It just reinforces it in your mind. There's a difference between processing something and replaying it. At some point, venting turns into draining, not just for you. And the longer you stay in that cycle, the harder it becomes to break out of it. Protecting your energy means learning to pause before reacting. It means choosing your battles wisely and recognizing when something doesn't deserve a response. Not everything needs your attention. Not everyone deserves access to your mental space. Just because someone invites you into their chaos doesn't mean you need to attend. Just because someone asks for your time doesn't mean you owe it. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're essential. They allow you to focus on what truly matters without getting pulled into emotional quicksand. This doesn't mean closing yourself off or becoming cold. It means being intentional. It means knowing when to rest, when to speak, and when to walk away. It's understanding that you're not responsible for fixing everyone else. You're responsible for managing your own mind, emotions, and peace. And sometimes, the most powerful act of self-care is simply saying, I'm not going to carry this today. Protecting your energy also involves the spaces you enter and the people you surround yourself with. If you're always around negativity, gossip, or complaining, it will start to shape your outlook. Energy is contagious, so surround yourself with people who inspire you. Create an environment